Hey, Puppy Trades! I wanted to do a video analysis update of something that I think is very serious, but unfortunately has kind of become a joke. And that's this idea that the NFL is scripted. Now, part of the reason it's become a joke that the NFL is scripted is because the NFL itself has tried to make it seem like it's scripted, even incorporating into their marketing this year. That the league is scripted. Hey, maybe we should write Patrick Mahomes out of the script this year. Okay, but I think it's important for the truth community to understand and remember that if we let them, get everyone to think it's a joke that the NFL is scripted, we're kind of letting them win. Now, to those people who still aren't convinced that the NFL is scripted, this video is going to prove it. This video is going to prove it. We're going to put the nail in the coffin in this video that the NFL is scripted. So, if you really like football, and you really like basketball too, this video is not for you. If you really, really like watching that stuff, you really get a lot of passion out of it, this video might not be for you. But if you're ready for the truth, this video is going to put all the speculation to rest. Now, that's just the NFL being scripted. I think that I also want to prove in this video that there's pretty sinister things going on, and that it's not just the joke the NFL is scripted. They're actually trying to encode a very serious message into our minds. Yes, and I'm not just going to say that, I'm going to prove it. I'm going to say in this video right now, anyone who watches this all the way through will know for a fact, if they understand statistics, that the NFL is not only scripted, but that they are encoding a message into the minds of the masses through the scripting, through the performative acting. Yes, I'm going to prove that to anyone who understands statistics in the medical field, in the engineering field, in the computer science field, in the business data analytics statistics field. This is going to be fully proven in this video. So we're going to get into it. For those who don't understand statistics, a very important thing that's very practical to know is the process efficiency formula. It basically says a process with 3 parts that all work 93% of the time should overall work 80.4% of the time, because 0.93 times 0.93 times 0.93 equals 0.804. On the contrary, a process with 2 parts that both work 90% of the time is actually going to be more efficient. It's going to work 81% of the time because 0.90 times 0.90 equals 0.81. So most people intuitively are going to look up here and say these parts work more often. That means that this process should be more efficient. The actual fact of the matter is that that's not the case. The fewer touch points, as they call them in supply chain, the fewer things that can go wrong, the less likely, that things are going to go wrong, even if the individual components work, less often on their own. Together, it's going to be more efficient than the process with more components. So that's a really practical measure, but it also can be used to find the likelihood that something's going to go wrong. So what businesses do is they have these processes that they have all types of processes, and they have a statistician or a data scientist come in and say which of these processes even needs to be investigated at all. What looks like, how are you going to know? And so they use processes called sampling and all that. But what this formula is used to do is to find out, is this process supposed to be working how we think it's going to work? 2 processes, that 2 parts of a process that each work 90% of the time should have an overall working of 81% of the time. It should work 81% of the time. So if it works 60% of the time, then we're going to need to investigate that. So this formula can be used taking the probability that something's going to happen, taking the components and multiplying them together, can be used to figure out if something needs to be investigated further, or if it's what most people assume, a coincidence. That's why it's important to understand statistics. So let's talk about Damar Hamlin and Damien Harris. They're members of the Buffalo Bills, and they suffered serious injuries in 2023, even though both situations appeared to be routine football plays, which I will say is, speculation. They appeared to be pretty routine football plays. In the case of Damar Hamlin, he needed CPR and he almost died on the football field. Damien Harris was carted off the field with a serious neck injury. Okay, so football is one of the most dangerous sports in the world, and players at all levels suffer life-threatening injuries that are not being faked. Okay, I understand that. I will say, watching the plays myself, they did seem pretty routine, but in football, when grown men that are that big are running at each other, things that look routine can actually be very serious. Okay, so I'll play devil's advocate. Okay, I understand that football players take very serious injuries. I understand that, I've seen plenty of hits where no one could convince me that man was acting, and that he was, or even that he had agreed, to take that hit. But anyway, I didn't want to play devil's advocate, but without any knowledge of gematria, occultism, or evidence that the NFL is performative acting, I understand why people would say that the real answer is that these are serious injuries that NFL players suffer all the time. But we're going to get into the evidence that more than that's going on in these situations. 3 New York NFL players have been involved in 9/11 rituals this year with injuries and deaths. So we're going to get into them. So Buffalo Bills and 9/11 rituals part 1. Mike Williams and Aaron Rodgers. Mike Williams was a former Buffalo Bill and Tampa Bay Buccaneers star who was hit in the head with a steel beam at a construction site 55 days before the Bills and the Bucs play on November 5th, 2023. So his name in gematria, if you add up all the numbers of his name in the full production cipher of gematria equals 55. So he was hit in the head with a steel beam 55 days before the Bills and the Bucs play on November 5th. Okay, so this, I understand why I say, that's a coincidence, right? That, that just happened. Okay, but this is part of a pattern. Clark Haggans also died in Colorado, and he lived a good part of his life in Colorado, 83 days before the 49ers and the Steelers play in Colorado. So Colorado equals 83 and 38 in gematria, just like the word murder. Now, this one goes over people's heads, but what I'm trying to show is that this is part of a pattern. Mike Williams, who equals 55 in a base cipher, gets hit in the head and subsequently dies from those injuries 55 days before his former teams play, right? The pattern is that the former teams play. It's not that it's 55 days and his name equals 55, it's that his teams also have to be playing on that day for the ritual to be perfect. Okay, so Clark Haggans, very similar thing. Colorado, big connection to 83. It equals 83. Murder equals 83. Clark Haggans dies in Colorado 83 days before his former NFL teams play. Now, another word that equals 83 is Ravens, and Alex Collins died 83 days before his former teams play. One of them was the Ravens, the other was the Seahawks. So Alex Collins is actually a ritual sacrifice that I think a lot of people should be able to understand. I know it's hard to believe, but let's just kind of pause for a little bit and just think about what happened. Alex Collins died in a motorcycle crash, right? And there's really only one way to phrase that. Man, this guy died in a motorcycle crash. So how would you write that into the gematria calculator? You would write motorcycle crash, right? And the team that he played for at the time was actually not the Ravens or the Seahawks. It was I think it's called the XFL. It was an XFL or a USFL team, but they were called the Memphis Showboats. So they're making a new kind of league that's secondary to the NFL. And Alex Collins played for a team that's in that league called the Memphis Showboats, right? So I've never heard of a team called the Showboats. Maybe you have, right? But if you type in Memphis Showboats into the Gematria calculator, you get a perfect match in 3 ciphers with motorcycle crash. I mean, let's think about that from a statistical point of view and how likely things are to happen when you take the sum of their parts and you multiply them together. He played for the Memphis Showboats, and it just so happens when you add the letters up in 3 of the 4 base ciphers, you get a perfect match with how he died, which was a motorcycle crash. Match 1, match 2, match 3. This is kind of unprecedented. This is pretty serious. And not only that, but the date of his death, so he died late Sunday night. The next morning is when everyone found out. It was reported. The Seahawks, his former team, announced it. The news broke the next day. It's all about when it's programmed in your mind. The news broke the next day on August 14th, which was 83 days before the Seahawks and the Ravens play. Memphis Showboats equals 83. Ravens equals 83. Motorcycle crash equals 83. It's a ritual sacrifice, and it's a pattern that we've seen in the NFL multiple times just this year. I thought Mike Williams a little more than Aaron Rodgers. Mike Williams was hit in the head with a steel beam on 9/1/23, and this hit to the head was 55 days before the Bucks and the Bills before the Bucks and the Bills play. And he died right before Buffalo versus the New York Jets. So there's a small typo up there. I just want to clarify. Mike Williams was hit in the head on 9/1/23, and this was 55 days before his former team's play. That was clarified on the previous slide. He died right before Buffalo and the New York Jets played on the first Monday Night Football game of the season, which was on 9/11/23. Okay, so we're going to kind of bring a few things together. We're going to get a little more occult here right now. So Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if you've noticed anything about him recently, but he's kind of started to act like a hippie. He told people that he went and he did something, I'm not even sure if I should say it in this video, called ayahuasca this off season. He did something called ayahuasca, right, which is a very hippie thing to do. He's been growing out his hair a lot recently, and he looks like a doofus. He has a pretty ugly mustache, but he's really been growing his hair a lot, and he's been doing ayahuasca. And the other thing that he's known for is being against the jabs, right? So I hope you don't think that I'm extrapolating here when I say they've kind of been making him seem like a conspiracy theorist or a hippie, right? You know, let's just kind of go back down to earth for a little bit with that in our minds. So Mike Williams was hit in the head with a steel beam before his team played the New York Jets on 9/11. So this I did not make up. A rallying cry in the truth community is that jet fuel melts steel beams. Okay, so that's what a lot of people said after 9/11 as an argument that the planes couldn't have, knocked down the buildings. For the sake of this video, I'm going to say that technically is a conspiracy theory. The technical fact-checked experts have said that's a conspiracy theory. But Mike Williams was hit in the head with a steel beam right before his team plays the Jets on 9/11. Okay, so Mike Williams equals 136, 55, and 80, which are the exact same ciphers perfectly as the Aries variant. So the Aries variant was discovered recently. It's the new variant of the virus, right? Ask your doctors about this, but there's an Aries variant. And Mike Williams got hit in the head with a steel beam in a 9/11 ritual, and he matches with Aries variant in 3 ciphers. We're just gonna marinate on that. I know that's a little hard to grasp, right? But he matches with Aries variant in 3 ciphers, and he gets hit in the head with a steel beam, and so his death was 55 days before his former team's play, which was also kind of conspiratorial in the nature that Alex Collins died, that Clark Haggans died, that unfortunately other NFL players have died. So Mike Williams equals the same ciphers as Aries variant 3 times, a pattern that was noticed with the collapse of Bronny James around the time the variant was discovered. So that's when I first noticed that right around the time the Aries variant was discovered, Bronny James, collapsed, right? And what's the big conspiracy theory that the heart, it's a heart problem that the jabs are causing, right? That's technically a conspiracy theory. That the jab, well, actually, for the purposes of YouTube monitors, we're gonna say that's technically a conspiracy theory. That the jabs cause heart problems. But Bronny James collapsed with heart problems right around the time the Aries variant was discovered. And then Mike Williams, I noticed he also matched. He had this kind of weird death, right? And he matched with the Aries variant in 3 ciphers. His death was clearly a ritual. He was hit in the head with a steel beam, before his team plays the Jets on 9/11, right? And so let's get a little further. Jet fuel melts steel beams is a rallying cry for 9/11 conspiracy theorists. Mike Williams, his injury foreshadowed Aaron Rodgers' injury on 9/11 because he's an anti-vax conspiracy hippie, right? The conspiracy theorist is getting knocked down on 9/11, and I know that this is the most abstract slide. I promise this is the most abstract slide. All right, but the conspiracy theorist Aaron Rodgers is going down on 9/11. It was foreshadowed by a steel beam, which was the rallying cry of conspiracy theorists for 9/11, hitting Mike Williams in the head 55 days before his former team's play. All right, and that matches with Aries variant and 3 ciphers. All right, let's take a deep breath. Whew. That was the most abstract we get. I promise. We're going to get a little more statistical now. But I thought this was pretty statistical. Memphis Showboats in 3 ciphers with Motorcycle Crash. That's the name of the team Alex Collins played for. And it's also 83 days before his former teams play each other. And one of those former teams, the Ravens, also equals 83. That's pretty statistical. But let's get into some, things on the internet. I think some people need to realize, not necessarily need to realize, I'm glad these people posted this, but I think some people need to realize the conspiracy theorists can be part of the broader agenda, okay? And so the reason that, I don't like when the truth community says, oh, this is comical. Oh, this is mockery. This is serious. But this guy said the Jets QB Aaron Rodgers went down on 9/11 at 11:19 left in the game, left in the first quarter of the game in New York. The NFL is rigged and scripted. This guy Sports Gematria said the Jet goes down on 9/11. Aaron Rodgers is 39 years old. New York equals 39. Today is a span of 83 days. Again, 83 again. 83 days again. Boom. 83 days again before a birthday. I mean, how many times 83 days before a birthday or 83 days before your former NFL team plays does someone have to be sacrificed? Anyway. But today's a span of 83 days before Aaron Rodgers' birthday. Someone else's, and a lot of people pointed out another reason that 83 is used in these rituals is not just because it matches with murder in Colorado, but with football, specifically football equals 38. So his backup is Zach Wilson, whose birthday is 8-3, another 83, and today is 39 days after Wilson's birthday. Keep laughing at the NFL script commercials alluding to what I was talking about. So let's get into Damien Harris. And, unfortunately, he was taken off in a Damar Hamlin ambulance. So I'll explain why I'm saying that, because last night a lot of X.com users made a big deal about the fact that the ambulance had two Damar Hamlin jerseys on the window, which is normally what you do when you retire someone's number. You put the jersey up. They got two Damar Hamlin jerseys on the window, which I'm going to go out and say I've never seen that before. I've never seen an NFL team do that. I'm pretty sure you haven't either. Okay, they got two Damar Hamlin jerseys. So those two jerseys together equal 33, right? So he's taken off in an ambulance with a giant 33 on the back of it. And Josh Allen handed him the ball. So Josh Allen handed the ball to Damien Harris before he was tackled by Bobby Okereke, who plays for New York. In gematria, Josh Allen and New York equal 33. The ritual is connected to Damar Hamlin. They have the same initials, and they got 33 on the back of the ambulance. Buffalo loses number 22 and 3 in 2023, and 322 is the number of Skull and Bones, who George Bush was a member of, and I think it's technically a fact that he was not necessarily, he was the guy in charge when 9/11 happened. In that way, he was responsible, but he was, some people think he was responsible in other ways. Unfortunately, that's technically a conspiracy theory. And I know a lot of this is just going to go over people's head, right? Josh Allen equals 33. New York equals 33. The ambulance has a giant 33 on the back of it. And I know that's going to go over people's heads, but this, we're going to get a little more nail in the coffin soon. Before we do that, I want to get into more of this idea, and I'm not saying these are my opinions, that people have connected Damar and Damien's injuries from routine plays to mandatory jab policies, right? So mandatory jab policies, apparently the Buffalo Bills has one. The Buffalo Bills have this guy, Alpha Jeffrey 45, says the Buffalo Bills have a mandatory CV-19 policy for all their players and staff. Damar Hamlin and now Damien Harris have both suffered jab injuries on the field. Somebody needs to prosecute the Bills. I don't know about that. I'm not saying that. This guy said that. This guy, Tom Nelson, DOMS, MPH, said, doctor here, Damar Hamlin suffered commotio cordis, which is caused by a blow to a chest between heartbeats. It has literally nothing to do with the jab. I'm just reading what these people have said. Colin Rugg, he showed a video, apparently, of, Aaron Rodgers and, I'm not saying, a lot of people have shared this video. Aaron Rodgers called Travis Kelce Mr. Pfizer, right? So Aaron Rodgers has called Travis Kelce Mr. Pfizer. Travis Kelce is sponsored by Pfizer. So if you forget, that, Aaron Rodgers has this anti-vax character, this hippie character, they're going to remind you. So I'm not, saying Colin Rugg or any of these people express any of my views. These are just screenshots to show that a lot of the community, a lot of, America, a lot of people, have this theory that these players are going down because of, heart problems related to the jabs. At least that's what this guy down here, Brad Whitehouse, says. He says Bronny James and Damar Hamlin, both elite athletes, clinical death was, most possibly due to the jabs. I don't think he meant to say death there. They didn't die, but Bronny James and Damar Hamlin, he's equating the fact, hey, they're elite athletes, but they had, some pretty big heart problems that was possibly due to the jab, right? So this kind of idea that players collapsing, and it's not just football, the idea that soccer players and basketball players collapse, because of heart problems is not a view that I'm saying any of these people express. I'm just trying to show that that's kind of what, is out there in the ethos, right? It's out there in the Twitterverse. That's kind of in our minds, right? The minds of the masses is what it's all about, right? So what's the nail in the coffin for this ritual? Puppy trades, you still haven't shown me, undeniable evidence yet, right? You still haven't showed me undeniable evidence. 33 with Josh Allen in New York and the 33 ambulance, right? That's nothing. I figured that. Aaron Rodgers going down on 9/11. 11:19 left in the first quarter. You know what this guy said? He's 39 years old. New York equals 39. The jet is down on 9/11. It's 83 days before his birthday. Just like we've seen lots of 83 rituals, where not only Mike Williams died 55 days before his former team's play, but Clark Haggans and Alex Collins both died 83 days before their former team's play. We've gone over that 83 connection. Pup, I still haven't seen the evidence. Okay, I think if you really understand statistics, this is going to be tough to dispute. All right, the nail in the coffin. Damien Harris and O'Karique were the main people in this ritual, or the main people in this serious injury. Damien Harris, he has a birthday. And it's his birthday, right? Like this, what happened with, in connection with Aaron Rodgers' birthday and Zach Wilson's birthday. Zach Wilson's birthday is 8/3. Aaron Rodgers was injured 83 days before his birthday, right? So 83 in the birthday. Well, Damien Harris's birthday is on February 11th, 2024. Okay, so that is 119 days from last night, which is when Damien Harris went down, right? So if you add up the letters of Damien Harris's name, such that D, the fourth letter of the alphabet, equals 4, A, the first letter, equals 1, right, and so on, you get 119. Okay, so Damien Harris, his name in the ordinal cipher of gematria, if you add up the letters in the most basic form, such that D, the fourth letter, has a value of 4, you get 119. And this big thing happens 119 days before his birthday. I mean, think about the odds of Damien Harris. You add up all the letters of his name, all those letters, all those, different ways you could. And it just so happens that this happens to him 119 days before his birthday, and his name equals 119. And you say, Pop, I still think that's a coincidence. Okay, the guy who hit him is named Bobby O'Karique. So Bobby O'Karique, his last name, if you add up the letters of his last name, only instead of doing the alphabetic order in, the forward, you do it in reverse, such that A is not the first letter. If you run the alphabet in the reverse, it's the 26th letter, so its value is 26. You get 119. So Damien Harris's name equals 119, and in the reverse cipher of that, the guy who hit him and sent him to the hospital 119 days before his birthday, his name also equals 119. Wow. Right? And so even if you, and this isn't even the first time that they've had these rituals, and by the way, in case you didn't get it, across the rest of the world outside of America, a day's date is written with the day first and the month second. So 11/9, right, like 119, Damien Harris equals 119, 119 days before his birthday. 11/9 outside the U.S. is how they write 9/11. So this ritual, this very clear 11/9 ritual, 119 days before Mr. 119's birthday, after he was hit by another 119, is a ritual to 9/11. Just like Aaron Rodgers' ritual was a tribute to 9/11, the jet. And it was foreshadowed by Mike Williams getting hit in the head with a steel beam before his team plays the Jets on 9/11. And jet fuel melts steel beams was the big conspiracy theory. And then the big conspiracy theorist, Aaron Rodgers, goes down. What you say to me, Poppy Trays? It's too crazy. Too crazy for my brain to fathom that they could be syncing up pro sports with a scripted ritual tribute to 9/11. Right? They've done it before. with even bigger stars. Probably even got more attention than this. Not the first 9/11 New York ritual with New York teams. Okay? So great credit to Kayla, Decode Talker. I had to censor you. Unfortunately, you talked about a topic that's off limits for this channel. But I like the rest of what you talked about. Never forget, says Kayla, who I'm a big fan of, this ritual in NYC with Peter Michael Davidson. So Peter Michael Davidson, aka Pete Davidson, is in the stands right now in this picture you're looking at. He's wearing a sweatshirt with a picture of Michael Jackson on it. So Kayla said, never forget this ritual in NYC with Peter Michael Davidson. Curry's shots record on the anniversary of blank ended with a career of 2,977 three-pointers. So he broke the record of 2,977 three-pointers, right? Or that was the record, right? And that happens to be, and this is a fact, 2,977 is the exact amount of people who died on 9/11. And one of them was Pete Davidson's father. So Pete Davidson, his father, died on 9/11. He was one of 2,977 people. He was in attendance when Steph Curry broke the three-point record with 2,977 three-pointers, or that was the record that was broken, and Curry went to Davidson College. So Curry went to Davidson. Davidson's watching, and he's wearing a Michael Jackson hoodie. Why does that matter? Well, because he was drafted into the NBA on the day that Michael Jackson died. That's why he's wearing a Michael Jackson sweatshirt, to pay tribute to this, right? So they pay tribute to the ritual sacrifice. So he was drafted, Curry was drafted out of Davidson College, Pete Davidson wearing the Michael Jackson hoodie, and was drafted into the NBA on the day Michael Jackson died, which was June 25th, 2009. That's also Del Curry's birthday, who is Steph Curry's father, also a very famous NBA player. So Curry was drafted the day Michael Jackson died, which is Del Curry's birthday. Curry went to Davidson. Pete Davidson is wearing a Michael Jackson shirt in New York at the same time, at the same game that Curry breaks the three-point record, which was the same as the amount of people who died on 9/11. So they pay tribute to 9/11 with rituals in sports all the time. That's why it's so important to understand that it's not just about gambling. It's not just about, making the Phillies fans sad. All right. What it's about is getting us to accept past events that were psyops, that were, programmed into our minds before they happened. Now they're being reaffirmed into our minds after they happen. But now what they also do is that they're also pushing the idea of future events. They're also using this for their future agenda. So what is their future agenda? Well, on 9/11/2023, the same day as this ritual with Mr. Anti-Vax, with 11:19 left in the, first quarter, where the anti-vax hippie got injured, right? The jet on 9/11 in New York, right? What happened? Big FDA approval for Pfizer on 9/11/2023, the same day Mr. Anti-Vax Rodgers is going down. What's the message here? Pfizer and BioNTech receive FDA approval for 2023 CV19 jab. This season's jab is tailored to the SARS-CoV XBB 1.5 sublineage and indicated as a single dose for most individuals 5 years of age or older. Preclinical data shows that updated CV19 jabs generate improved neutralizing antibody responses against multiple circulating related sublineages, so including XBB 1.5, BA 2.86, and EG 5.1, the Aries variant. The Aries variant, 136, 55, 80, like Mike Williams. So wait a minute, let's get this straight. Mike Williams hitting the head with a steel beam 55 days before his former team's play and dies before his, biggest former team plays, the New York Jets on 9/11, right? Steel beams, 9/11, you either get it or you don't, okay? But this was a perfect match with Aries variant, 136, 55, and 80. And then on 9/11, a new jab for the Aries variant gets approved. All right, so companies are working closely with pharmacies, hospitals, and clinics across the country to ensure rapid access to the season's jab, right? So what's going on here? Well, in my unprofessional opinion, we're going to see a turnaround in some of these jab stocks. One of them is Pfizer. I think Pfizer formed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up. Large wave 1, ABC wave 2 at a 78.6% retracement. I also don't think it's an accident Pfizer closed around $33 today. But anyway, 27.88 is the invalidation. I think this is wave 1 and wave 2. My belief, which I could be completely wrong about, is that 27.88 isn't getting broken, and we're going to see Pfizer enter wave 3. We had a new approval for their jabs on 9/11/23, and one of the variants had a perfect match with Mike Williams, which I was all over. So what's the real message here? Is this just predictive programming for the next wave? Is this just marketing, Travis Kelce and Mr. Pfizer? Is this just trying to tell us, hey, take this as seriously as, what happened in 2001? Unfortunately, I think it's a little more sinister than that. We're going to talk about this. So what's the conclusion? What's the real reason they're doing this? The message being programmed is that the V's coming back, right? V is coming back, and it's going to come back in a big way. But this time, the people who deny the jabs aren't going to get off so easy. That's why anti-vax Aaron Rodgers is going down on 9/11 when playing for the Jets, and all these rituals are connecting New York teams and players to 9/11. After 9/11, many laws were passed in the Patriot Act that allowed people with certain classifications to be detained indefinitely without the right to a lawyer, among other things. Will the unjabbed receive these classifications and be treated more harshly this time around? I wanted to talk about Israel for a sec. I know this is a touchy topic, so I'm just going to abbreviate it I. All right, and I've gotten messages from YouTube, be careful talking about this. So thoughts on I. It's a fact, according to USA Today, that the claim that I implemented a CV-19 passport, a jab passport, is supported. That's actually true. I was one of the first countries that supported a CV-19 jab passport. And this domestic passport was called the Green Pass, all right? It provided people who have been fully jabbed some freedom, right? So a pass provided freedom for some people. A pass provided freedom for people. That's actually a fact from USA Today, and that happened in I, right? Our big ally I, right? So the I versus P war that just, it's been going on for a while, but there was a big development in it recently, 2 Saturdays ago. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. This is, in my opinion, the beginning of World War III and the biblical end times war, and it's soon going to involve Russia and Turkey. So that's the end times prophecy. There's going to be this war. Israel is going to be involved. It's going to be, about the Holy Land, and Russia and Turkey are going to get involved. I can get more into that later, if people care. But the end times is here, right? I've talked about more evidence for that in recent videos. The one with Rick and Morty on the thumbnail, I think 2 or 3 videos ago, talks about that, right? But the end times is here. It foretells a mark of a beast that nobody can buy or sell without, right? So Israel, big connection in the Old Testament, New Testament, God's chosen people, right? I was one of the first countries to be 99.99% jabbed and also to require passports to go shopping. So where am I going with this? Well, the next crisis centers around their border and their fence. similar to America's kind of wall problem we have now. And blockchain, it's got a lot of things that can solve. One of the big things that it can solve is the jab passport problem, right? The jab passport problem, just so you know, is going to be solved with blockchain. It was never an idea that we were going to have people outside of Walmart checking jab passports, right? Obviously, they could be easily forged, right? Obviously, no one would ever be able to go into Walmart if someone had to check every single person's jab passport. They're going to use what, kind of similar to what Amazon Go has now. They're going to use blockchain to verify the medical history of the people who are going in and out of these stores, right? That's the mark of the beast. That's what it's actually going to look like. It's blockchain for buying and selling, right? That's why Israel was the first country to be, using the jab passports, which are like the mark of the beast. Hey, we're not saying you have to get it, but you can't get groceries without it, but this is how it's going to be solved with blockchain, right? And that's how this is all going to be implemented. So is the connection that we're supposed to get is, hey, what was that other thing, that's big about, the modern state of Israel's history? It's the Holocaust, right? It's the Holocaust, right? So they're connecting, they kind of just started World War III, and they're connecting what happened to, Israelites in World War II with what's going to happen to people who reject the jab in the future, right? That's why this is all being synced with September 11th, right? That's why this is all being synced with September 11th. That's why all these rituals are occurring, paying tribute to September 11th with Pete Davidson and all those people, the exact amount of 3-pointers for the people who died on September 11th. And the 11-9 ritual, which is how you write September 11th, outside of America, and the big jet, Aaron Rodgers going down on 9/11. This is serious. What they're trying to tell us, the big anti-vaxxer going down on 9/11, is that the next time this comes around, it's not going to be so easy for the people who act like Aaron Rodgers and refuse the jab. It's not going to be so easy. Remember the Patriot Act, right? We haven't really seen a lot of those things in the Patriot Act come to fruition yet. After 9/11, we had this Patriot Act and we said, hey, if we classify you as something, you can be detained indefinitely. Well, in 2020, in 2021, there was a big talk of classifying people who refused the jab as people who might be subject to the Patriot Act, right? Because aren't they technically harming grandma by not accepting the jab? That means that they're what? Well, what are they? Why are they syncing all this up with 9/11? And is Israel and World War II, World War III being brought up now to say, hey, this next time around, you're going to be the one in the boxcars.